3, 2, 1. Go, Stan.
And welcome into PressBox Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles of PressBox and PressBoxOnline.com. And with me tonight is the athletic director of Stevenson University. His name is Brett Adams, and we're going to talk in just a minute why he's smiling so much. But first, I have to tell you we're brought each time by A.J. Michaels, expert and award-winning A.J. Michaels heating, AC, plumbing, and home performance will improve your home's energy efficiency and comfort levels. AC season is coming up fast, 87 degrees today. New rebates and discounts are available. More at ajmichaels.com. And we're also brought to you by the Costas Inn. More on them in a little bit. Brett, it's been a while. The pandemic, I haven't seen any of my old friends, but we've been friends for a good while. Yeah. You've been really incredibly busy. I was invited to the ribbon cutting yesterday at the opening of the East Campus of Stevenson University. It's 117 acres that you've taken over. Tell us a little bit about the history of this, because it's 2023 and you've been at the university, what, like 26 years now?
This is my 29th year I'm finishing
29th up. Year. This didn't just start a week ago or something like this. Give our viewers a little bit of the history of this program, this procedure you've gone through out there, and what it's all about.
So the property you're talking about is the old Rosewood Mental Hospital, which is located in Owings Mills, which happens to be adjacent to our campus, our Owings Mills campus, I should say. For those in the sports world, it's also the site of the former Baltimore Colts and Baltimore Ravens training center.
Yep.
In Owings Mills, and then right through the woods it's all contiguous to our North Campus, which is the old Shire Pharmaceutical plant, and the Rosewood property. The Rosewood property, 100-year-old property that was run by the state, which was a place for individuals who had special needs.
Yep.
Really irrelevant today. Our special needs friends and students and parents and are mainstream throughout the community. So there was this property that was self-sustaining, complete with coal plant, underground tunnels, their own food source, water, all that. Really became obsolete and had been abandoned by the state, but the state still had that property. So I like to say it's, people who drive by, it looks like it's an overnight transformation, and it did happen very quickly, and I'll cover that shortly. But our CFO, at the time, Melanie Edmondson, in 1996, was asked by then Carolyn Manuzak, who was the president, to go over and review the site and see if it's something that was possible for, at the time, Village Uli College to assume. And at that time, there were so many historic buildings there that was under, and so the answer was no.
Right.
When our president, after Carolyn Manuzak, Dr. Manning, again revisited in 2000, some things had changed, and so we started the process, right around 2000. Through several different governors and several different administrations on either side of the aisle, Republican,
I got
Democrat.
You. This was not a Democratic or Republican idea.
No, it was really a community interest that would benefit everybody. So that process, again, took place and moved forward. We were able to get the right of first refusal if, in fact, they were ever brought it up for sale, in which they did. They listed it as excess property or excess assets from the state, and therefore, and it was costing them money to maintain a place that had been abandoned. And so that process started, but there was, environmental issues, from the coal plant and asbestos from that time period, and a number of other challenges. The remediation was significant. And very few organizations, and it was zoned institutional. So, very few could take that project on. And, we're really pleased that the state trusted us on that. And the state gave us some resources too, to help clean it up the property, but also help us build the greater community.
Okay. It's a fascinating story, and I was amazed when Melanie told me yesterday that she was first asked in 1996 to go over and take a look at the property. I mean, I knew you guys had been wanting to do this. I thought 11, 12 years, 14 years. It really dates back that long. Let me ask you a couple of questions about it. The taking into this 117 acre property, what is it going to do for the student body and the community that surrounds Stevenson University?
Well, first of all, from the day I stepped foot on Villa Julie's campus, now Stevenson, we recognize we're a significant part of the community. I mean, our students get their education there. Many of them stay in the area. They vote, they purchase groceries, they purchase houses. So we know that we have a responsibility in the community. Now, I'm biased. I'm the athletic director. I believe athletics can be a significant part of a student athlete's education. We learn how to fail, we get back up. We learn how to fail, we get back up, and we learn perseverance. We learn teamwork. We learn, we broaden our horizons. So with this property, it gives us an opportunity to include more students and include more of the community in that process. So obviously we have NCAA varsity athletics, and many of us know that, we have done fairly well in that space, but there's another whole group of students too that aren't NCAA varsity athletes. It's the general student population, but we also have 190 club sport athletes. Not everyone can play at the varsity level or want to play at the NCAA level. This creates another outdoor classroom, if you may, for us to be able to teach that. In addition to that, in the Owings Mills area, it's a vibrant community with the development of, Wegmans, the Metro Center, all of those areas. There's really a need for other community activities, in particular sports is my space. And so we believe that we can help the community. Just the other day, we had the Genesee baseball team play on the site, and we're not fully up and running yet. This weekend, our first club weekend, so club soccer, club baseball, club softball will play this weekend. And then we have an international field hockey surface. So we've had some of the best club field hockey teams in the area who are utilizing the space and stuff too with our collaboration. So it's really, I'm sorry, go ahead. Sam.
No, go ahead.
Well, it's part of it. It's not just tunnel vision. We really are looking at the bigger picture of the community. I mean, interestingly, when we built the soccer fields, the two soccer fields are Bermuda grass soccer fields. We were part of the FIFA World Cup bid, and the Maryland Sports Authority, we were part of that group. And we really wanted to build them so that if Brazil or one of the top international teams needed a place to practice, we would be able to serve that need. So not just the local community, but the greater community of Baltimore.
So the question about community, can people in the neighborhood that live within a mile, 2 miles, drive over there on a Saturday and walk around the track if it's not being used for an event, or just walk around that campus?
So not right now. And the reason is it's still a construction site.
Okay.
And even though we're playing some games, we still have a lot that we're doing. We still need to get power there, BGE and so on. So we're not ready yet for the community to just openly have access to it. The other part is that we need to do our programming first. So obviously as a collegiate institution, we're busy on Saturdays. We're nights and weekends and Saturdays. And the track, inside the track is a field hockey surface too. And so we may have other teams coming in. So it needs to be really organized. And we do need to serve our students first. And so as of right now, no, but we will likely get to a point where we have the community engaged.
All right. I use the example of walking around the track, but I mean, could they walk once the construction part's done, they can walk around the campus. It's a gorgeous campus.
Yeah. So the entrance to Garrison Forest will become an exit. The entrance into the campus will be on the Owings Mills north side, which will be off from Crondell Lane.
Gotcha.
So they'll enter the complex from that end. And then, inviting the community and being a part of the community is important to us.
A question. I remember because we got friendly when I started Press Box and we started covering your sports and everything. The building of a football stadium and the starting of a football program, that had to be something very unique. This seems like it's like that on steroids a little bit. I mean, it's just, not to use a negative or pejorative, but I mean, how crazy was this to be because you're at the wheel of this whole thing, right?
Well, I'm one of the, obviously President Hirschman, Scott Pugash, the board trustees, Scott Pugash, president of the board of trustees, Melanie Edmondson, CFO. Prior to that, Dr. Manning,
right.
Tim Campbell. So there's a lot of moving pieces. Jim Mustard is our head of athletic facilities and just a tremendous project manager. So there's a lot of people in the know. So I like being a part of those folks.
I got you.
Not folks, but spokes. I'm just part of that wheel.
You're part of the wheel. All right. But how crazy was this to have this as an ongoing thing the last 5-6 years?
So there are two parts. First of all, one is as an athletic director, and been an athletic director for a while. Normally, institutions will do one of these fields at a time or a track at a time.
Right.
We did
one
a baseball
football stadium at a time,
or a gym, and then get the gym done, and then we'll do the stadium. To do baseball, softball, a rec field, a international, Bynum surface track. John Bynum, who originated Bynum surfaces, it's the same surface that they have at Oregon. It's the same one at Alabama. It's the same one in the Olympics. He happens to be a Marylander who's from Hunt Valley and supported us. So we had that connection to have that quality international surface, to do them all at once, and to remediate 117 acres, all the buildings, 20 some odd buildings, and then do all the grading with it in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah.
This is 2020. This was not an easy lift. And a lot of really unbelievably smart people above me, made a lot of that happen in a very challenging. Now, it's been a great asset to us as we're coming out of the pandemic. I'm not sure we're out of it yet, but as we're coming out of the pandemic,
we're coming out of it, but it could be a long coming period. Yeah.
If you look at what happened to high school students during that period, they're looking for relief. They're looking for affirmation that they can continue their education with sports. So for us to be doing that in the middle of that, I think has been really, really rewarding for them and rewarding for our campus.
That's a great point you make there. For the average student that goes to Stevenson, how does this affect or impact the culture of being a student at Stevenson? Right.
So, again, I'm biased, but I believe athletics is a great educational tool. The whole healthy mind, healthy body, Oxford, Harvard, Yale, they all knew that many, many years ago. So for us to add that, before I had one field with 6 sports on it. I had field hockey, football, men's and women's soccer, men's and women's lacrosse, all on one field. And at certain points in the fall, all 6 of them were on that field in the same day. And if you figure 2-hour practices, it's not an easy thing to do. So it didn't leave the general student population many opportunities. And we had to be on the grass field or be inside the quad and use the green space there. Now we put soccer on their own field, 2 of them. I have our club sports who now have collegiate level facilities. And I can move my football practice to a time that's convenient for the students not in class. So it is really huge, not just for the varsity or the club kids, but also the kids who just want to come down and free play. So, and it actually frees up the turf also in the evenings. Of course, we have lights, and it's very convenient.
Have you gotten, I know it's just the ribbons were just cut. Have you gotten much feedback from the student body? Are they truly excited about this?
Well, the most of the students who've been on it right now have been the varsity athletes, and it's the ones that are in season. So, and like I said, we're still in a construction area
Okay.
because, we still don't have the power. We don't have the lights.
Right.
So they haven't had a chance yet to really
experience
fully
it.
embrace it.
Okay.
But what they have done, they've been able to experience the stadium and the Bermuda grass field in front of the shop near the stadium. They've been able to access that more. And eventually they'll be able to, run flag football and ultimate frisbee and some of the other activities.
It's an amazing project, and you among the others are to be congratulated on it. I'm wondering how, and I know Dr. Hirschman has been Elliot, the school president, has been the guy at the helm, so to speak. But how good was it to see Dr. Manning there, who a lot of the vision that you and he shared years ago has been, this is full fruition almost of what he saw. How good was that to see him there yesterday?
Great. And in addition to that, Tim Campbell, the CFO,
Yep.
who is also a strong supporter of athletics, and Carolyn, Carolyn Manuzak, President Manuzak is the one who hired me, also had a vision too.
Yep.
Claire Moore was the interim president between President Manning and Dr. Hirschman, who believed in our values and activities and so on. So I've really been blessed to have great leadership all the way through. But it is great to see not only Dr. Manning and Tim Campbell come back, but Board of Trustee members who've been engaged for many years.
Yep.
Scott Pugach, Globe Holter, who are there. Shell Kettleman was there in our local community supporting us. Bobby Zirkin was one who was really significantly impactful in helping us, with Rosewood and moving it forward from the legislative standpoint, and down in Annapolis. So it was great. It was really great to see him. Melanie Edmondson has also been there since 1996, 97, and was the comptroller, then assistant vice president, and then on and on and on until she's now in the CFO role. So this was nothing new for her either. And this, so it is great, and it's a great place, and we've got a lot of great people, and that's why we've done some great things.
Dr. Manning taught me something about athletics at the college level. It still is sort of a business. You got to be able to pay the bills. And I remember introducing him to John Ziegler, who ran the Colts marching band.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it to him in passing, and he goes, it's a really terrific idea. I've got something I'd like to talk to him about. And I thought, I'm thinking like, hey, he just wants to have a band. But his view of it was 80 to 100 members that are students that are paying, he always looked at sports as something that could help pay the bills, so to speak. And it was an interesting view of athletics. I look at that new facility. Are there going to be, I remember rumors, and I'm going back 8 or 10 years ago, about ice rink there, because you've got men's and women's ice hockey, a swimming facility over there. Are those pipe dreams, or are those the next big things down the road sometime?
Well, it's really interesting that you mentioned it. First of all, I believe that I have visionary, and I like to see around the corner.
Yep.
Pipe dreams are probably appropriate because an ice rink needs pipes to keep the ice cold, and you need pipes to fill a pool. So if they're pipe dreams, they're probably really appropriately named.
That's exciting. I mean, that's exciting. I know you guys have played over at the Reisterstown rink for I think the women's ice hockey started in 2012, 13, somewhere in there.
Yeah, 2012.
And men's 16, 17. I mean, those and those teams have roughly 25 to 30 members of each team in the ballpark.
So Stan, you're a little light on that. We do have the 2 varsity teams, but I have 2 ACHA club teams, which is collegiate club teams.
Okay.
So we have 102 ice hockey players on campus.
Okay.
So we have 4 teams. And then, with an opportunity, if in fact we were able to, and it's not certain yet, but, and we've worked really well with the Maryland Revenue Authority, or the Baltimore Revenue Authority, and Penn Mills, and who oversees and runs the Reisterstown Sportsplex as it relates to hockey and the ice rink. And so they've been great partners, and we've really worked well together. But there is definitely a need, and that's why we have 102 ice hockey players.
So a pipe dream might be down the road sometime. We'll visit that at the time.
Yeah, I tend to be very optimistic, to be honest with you. I see our future, and I know the impact. There is a business in any decision that we've made at Villa Julian Stevenson. It's got to make sense. We're not in the business of charging the students a lot of tuition and not making it beneficial to them, and essentially throwing money away. That's not what we do. That's not a good decision. There's definitely other needs that we have, but we'll take them one step at a time.
All right. I in reading up, preparing for this interview, when you took over, this is back in 94, 95, you had 8 teams. And then in the bio, it says you quickly added 3 teams, and then you added 18 more teams. Am I right now? It's 29 teams that compete at the NCAA level right now?
Yes. Well, the one team is not recognized by the NCAA, which is men's beach volleyball. So we were the first NCAA Division III women's beach volleyball team when it was passed in 2011. USC was the first women's beach team that was an NCAA program when they had started back in 2007, 2008, and then it wasn't recognized either by the NCAA. But it's been, our Division III women's team has been such a great addition to our campus, and the men have really very much wanted it. So we made the decision to launch the very first NCAA men's beach team, even though it's not recognized by the NCAA. We are following all the NCAA protocols for eligibility and so on. And so, yes, we've launched it. So that was our 2019 was men's beach volleyball.
Now, in addition to the 29 teams you have that compete in the NCAA, you've got these club teams and all. How many, like when you first started, were there any club teams at all? And now how many do you have now?
So when we were accepted at the 1994 NCAA convention in San Antonio, when we applied to join the NCAA, they made that decision. Carol Zimmerman was the assistant AD at the time who made the case. I wasn't hired yet. I was not hired till July. But we made the case for NCAA athletics. We had 7 varsity teams and 1 club team, and the club team was men's lacrosse. And we asked for an exception to have, because you needed 8 schools, or 8 programs, 4 men, 4 women, 1 in each season. So we asked for an exception for the club men's lacrosse team. So we actually have had club teams since around 1986, 87, and it was club lacrosse, and the club was the start of it.
Okay. And how many do you have today?
10. We have 10 club teams.
That's a lot of juggling with all the space.
Well, a couple of those teams are esports, which is another new space.
That is an entirely new space. That we'll save that for another night. I did want to mention the Costas Inn again. They've been loyal sponsors of Stan the Fan and Press Box for over 25 years. They've been in business for over 50 years. 4100 North Point Boulevard. This is crab season, so make your plans accordingly. You got to call up and reserve your crabs at 410-477-1975. Best crabs around. Make it like a crab vacation over at the Costas Inn. More now with Brett Adams. Brett, I just want to keep you a couple more minutes. I understand from talking to Gary, who couldn't be on tonight, he's got not something scary, but he's got a health issue that's bothering him right now. He tells me you got you're doing a lot of sports streaming and broadcasting of all your athletic events. And I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about that, because where do you see that benefiting the athletic programs, that their games get streamed and all that?
So we do over 200 broadcasts a year in our athletic department. So we're broadcasting field hockey, men's and women's volleyball, men's and women's basketball, football, the lacrosses, ice hockey, baseball, softball.
And Glenn Clark does just about all of them, doesn't he?
He is, yes, we work with Glenn. He's my coordinator for talent because I think it's really important for the audience to know what's happening. And so I want professionals being able to call the play-by-play, add color, add history, add knowledge to it. Our listeners and our viewers really appreciate that quality of communication and talent, and it's a much enjoyable broadcast. The way we look at our broadcast is we want to broadcast so that ESPN3 would pick us up easily, and it'd be no different than turning on your TV. And we're not just streaming off from the website. We actually have our own app, and we broadcast on Apple TV, Amazon Fire Stick, Roku. You just download the app and you can watch all of our home games. And then this last year, I was able to be very successful with the athletic communications director of the SIDs to convince the conference to launch MAC TV, which is our conference. So not only can you see our home games now, you can actually watch our student athletes on the road too. So you can see home and away. And there's no charge. We don't charge a penny. So the value that you mentioned is important for our students, our parents who want to see their student athletes. Sometimes they're working, they can't see them live. So not only do we do it live, stream it, we also do it on demand. What I also love about it is our student athletes will go home and they will be able to watch themselves on the replay of the broadcast. And it's really a great educational tool. And it's also helps send the message out of who we are. And our recruits are able to watch too, and they can envision themselves playing.
And taking the vision that Dr. Manning taught me about, and I'm sure you share, are the kids, the students, does it create sort of some air space for those kids that want to get into mass comm, that do the games, they are the cameramen, they're the audio people and all that?
So we employ over 100 students in the athletic department, everything from the video production crew to sports information to fitness center to game day operations. So, equipment manager positions. We have interns with just not only my office, maybe they're business communications majors or business majors, and they have a concentration in sport management, or they're video majors. And, we have a saying, if you can do live sports, you can do most video. And so they get real live experience. And of course, we pay them too, small amounts, but we pay them too for that experience. And some of them really enjoy it. Some of them actually have launched themselves into careers in this space.
That's what I mean. Is there a major? Can somebody come to Stevenson and major in mass comm, communications and broadcast?
Yeah, so yes, they can. We have business communications and other parts of that. And also the video piece. There's a lot of pieces to it, but yes, we have that. And not only can they do it on our campus, but we do interns. And of course, we've had individuals with Pressbox and other organizations too, MPT, Maryland Public Television, as well as WBAL and others.
Well, I appreciate your time tonight coming in to do this with me. Fascinating that all of a sudden I knew it was happening, and then all of a sudden I got the invite to be at the ribbon cutting, and it was really meant a lot to me to be invited. Of course, Sue Kenny's a good friend. You're a good friend. But it's been a long time, and you've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears along with all the other people you mentioned. And you're to be congratulated. It's an amazing accomplishment.
It's very rewarding, when you have a mission where you feel you're making a difference in people's lives, not just our students, but our coaches and our faculty, and making their education more meaningful. It is really rewarding.
I'm not pointing out just one coach but I have to tell you, your hiring of Ed Hoddle to coach football was a great hire. He's done such a fantastic job taking that thing that grew in the ground, and it's really a tremendous program.
So you just created another problem for our equipment manager, because she's going to have to buy different hats for him that has adjustable straps for it.
Bigger head. Sorry. Hey, Fred, it's good catching up with you again. I hope to see you more in the future. Okay.
Dan, as always, thanks for what PressSpot does, and thanks for your sponsors too, because this makes it possible for us to see all your shows.
We're big fans of Stevenson University and what they do in athletics. We're big fans of the university, too. But thanks for coming on and talking about this amazing expansion of the East Campus. We'll have more on it as events warrant. Thank you for stopping in.
All right.
Thank you, Brett, for stopping by.
Thank you, Stan.
All right. All right.
Bye.
Just want to say goodbye, but first tell you that the expert and award-winning AJ Michaels, you don't have to stay for that, Brett, if you don't want to.
Okay.
Expert
Thank
and
you.
award-winning AJ Michaels Heating, AC, Plumbing, and Home Performance will improve your home's energy efficiency and comfort level. AC season is coming up fast, and boy, does it ever come up fast. 87 degrees today, I think today. New rebates and discounts are available. Check it out at more at ajmichaels.com to check it out. All right. More information on those new rebates at ajmichaels.com. Ross Grimsley and I are back on Monday night. And that's it for me today. I'll be on the Glenn Clark Show tomorrow. Have the MLB power rankings out on Monday afternoon. Luke and I will take a look at those power rankings in more detail on Monday afternoon. And then Ross and I will be in. We're trying to get Mike Boddicker, former Oriole pitcher, to join us this coming Monday. And when Ross sets out to do something like that, it usually comes about. All right. We'll talk to you soon. We got a whole host of folks coming up, by the way, starting next week. Bear with me 1 second. We've got Frank Remish joining us next Thursday in this time slot. Frank Remish with the new CFG bank building downtown. So we'll be interested in talking to Frank about the remodeling of that. What was the Baltimore Arena, Civic Center. It's now reopened, and I hear fantastic for concerts, but we'll talk to him also about some sports events that may take place there. Frank Remish. All right, that's it for me. Good night, everybody.